Your personal brand is more than just a logo or a tagline. It's the key to unlocking trust, connection, and opportunity. But how do you craft one that feels authentic to you? Today, I'm joined by Jessica Papineau, a stylist for high-performing women, and Michelle Chalfant, a transformational expert with decades of experience helping people discover their authentic selves. Welcome to Superhuman Selling. I am beyond excited for this conversation with the two of you. We have talked about this offline, that we know there's something bigger we are all meant to do together. And I feel like this is step one of that. So Jessica, Michelle, welcome back to the show. We've had you both on as individual guests, but I think this is going to be such a powerful conversation around building a personal brand from the inside out that truly shines in the world, attracts dream clients. And I'm excited to dive into how you've both approached your brands and how you've both built such influential brands in your space as well. So Michelle, do you want to do a quick introduction, who you are, what you do before we get started? And then Jessica will turn it to you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an entrepreneur, but I was a licensed therapist for about 20 some years and saw clients individually, and then started a podcast in 2014. And that led to creating a coaching certification and online courses, live events. And in a nutshell, I teach people how to transform their lives using very simple techniques and tools.
Beautiful. And Jessica, introduce yourself.
I'm Jessica Papineau. I am the owner and founder of CSJ, which is an authentic fashion styling company. So I help high-performing females to step into their power through fashion and really, show them how to align their wardrobes with the woman that they desire to be and the woman they've decided that they're ready to become for that next level.
Yeah. And I think so much of what I'd love to talk with both of you about today is when we make that decision to step into the next level, how do we build a brand that portrays it, that feels still authentic to us and who we are, but that brings that energy, that vibrancy, right, into the world and attracts our dream clients. So let's start with debunking a couple of myths about personal branding, because I think there's a lot of maybe misconceptions and myths out there. Michelle, for you, if someone said personal branding is just about image, it's just about your social media, your Instagram, what would you say to that? How would you answer that?
Personal branding, I believe, is really taking your authentic self and putting it out into the world. That's what it is more than anything. It's really letting the world see what's in here, what you have to offer the world. We were just talking about this earlier, how difficult it is for so many of us to claim that we all have a superpower or we have gifts that we're here to bring into the world. That to me is what a brand is all about. It's like, it's who you already are.
Yes.
And claiming that and putting it out there.
Yeah. And I want to come back to that claiming energy, because there's a difference. And I've felt it when I'm, the phrase like writing for the critics or doing a post for the critics, where we're doing something and we're in our head and all we're thinking about is, how is someone going to respond to this? Are people going to like this? Versus, this is my truth. I'm unapologetically owning it. And I'm going to share this from a place of service to the world as well. But you've got to be willing and able to claim your greatness and your uniqueness first to do that.
Yeah.
And then one of the other myths, and Jessica, I'd love for you to speak to this, but I think a lot of times people in corporate may think, well, why do I need a personal brand? Does this matter? This is just for entrepreneurs. And I know you work with clients in both corporate and entrepreneurs, as do we.
Yes.
So what would you say to someone who's in corporate who doesn't think that personal branding matters for them?
It really, it's not even just if you're in business. Like, everyone has a personal brand. I think of personal branding as exploiting someone's uniqueness, right? And really leveraging that uniqueness to make impact and to share your gifts, right? And Michelle, you were saying authenticity. I think it's very difficult entrepreneurs, but also, for those high level executives to really, you also use the word claim, to really claim what those unique qualities are that you bring to your company or that you bring to your business, to really, embody, right, your special gifts, and then utilize, the tools that you have at hand if you're in another company or whatever. But it's really how people feel when they think about you. That's really how I think of personal branding.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious how you both started off with your brands. I know when I think back to my own journey, and for me, it was even when I was in corporate, I was playing with personal branding and started doing webinars and things before. I had no idea what I was doing, but I remember I was selling online marketing, and I thought, gosh, if I'm selling online marketing solutions to businesses and I'm teaching them to do webinars and them to brand themselves online, shouldn't I be doing that for myself, even though I'm in corporate? So started doing that, started having some success with that. And then when I left and went out to launch my own company, had 6 months of savings, and one client had paid me $300 to review a presentation for it. But I was like, it's proof of concept. I can make some sort of money outside of corporate. But I remember there was so much I didn't know. But I knew from my marketing background that I had to be seen and known and positioned as an expert in my space. So I went all in on building my brand, launching a podcast, local networking group, doing social media videos, having, again, no idea what I was doing. This was about 10 years ago, and lighting was terrible, and I was winging the whole thing. But I was like, I'm showing up and I'm doing this every day. So for both of you, you've built extremely influential brands in your space. You've built top platforms. You've got tons of people following you. What was that journey like to start your brand, Michelle? Let's start with you, and then Jessica will let you speak to that as well.
Mine was by mistake.
As every great thing is, right?
Exactly. Like, it honestly happened to me. It's not anything that I actually pointed toward and said, let's do this.
Yeah.
It truly happened by mistake. But is anything really by mistake? Yeah. I feel like it was always coming. But, I was seeing clients, and then I launched the Adult Share podcast 2014, exactly 10 years ago. And what happened was, around the world, then people wanted to have these Adult Share sessions with me. And it got so big that I kept hearing in meditations, like, teach people to do what you do, teach people to do what you do. Okay, then I'll create and launch an entire coaching certification program, which I did. And I'm doing the online events, and then I'm working with lay people doing live events. And I realized it built itself. And now, 10 years later, I'm actually at the point where I'm saying, okay, where am I today? Now I want to pivot that a little bit. And now I feel like I've grabbed the reins. And now I'm really going from the Adult Share brand to Michelle Chalfant brand, which I was always there, but it was almost like the Adult Share was in front of me, like the Adult Share with Michelle Chalfant. Now it's Michelle Chalfant that does the Adult Share and meditation and parts work and inner child work and all these things. So, so I've kind of done it a little bit backwards, but the learning, if I may just share what I gained from this, is that our brand is within us, and we have to pay attention. And the way we do that is to sit in the present moment and truly trust your downloads, your intuitive hits, whatever you call it, your nudges. I call it the breadcrumbs. Like, where are these breadcrumbs leading me? And it may not make logical sense, but you follow your heart. Like, that's that. And I don't want to sound airy-fairy, but it really is following where your heart's leading you. And that's how I know now what to do with my company. I mean, changing from the Adult Share podcast to the Michelle Chalfant show, it was, I said, I know that this needs to happen because I feel it.
Yeah.
And it's just time to do this. And then everything I'm waiting for it to arrive. What do I do now? Oh, now we need to do this group coaching program. Now I need to do this. Now I need to do that. But I'm waiting for it, and it's just evolving. And if there's one thing, again, I've learned is that it's already within us. It's within all of us. Yeah. We've got to take time to listen and pay attention and let it unfold and evolve.
Wow. I love your approach to that. And that's always been closer to my approach, because there's so many different ways to build a brand. And there's so many formulas out there too that say, you've got to do it this way. You've got to follow these steps in this order. And that's just honestly never resonated with me. It's always felt inauthentic. And I think when I've tried it from that approach, I have been more in my head versus in my heart of what's coming through, what's my knowing. And, one of the things that I find, I don't know if you all find this on social media, but, you can do a post and try to follow all the right steps and do the right hashtags and do the right thing. And it doesn't matter how correct it is on paper. The things that are heartfelt always perform the best. Always beat the algorithm, right? So what is that, right? That's interesting. Jessica, for you, tell us a little bit more about your journey of building your brand and the community you've built and what that's been like.
It's been a wild ride. I feel like it's bigger than me. I just remember, always having this knowing that I was meant to do something more, but I didn't know what it was. I think I had the knowing when I was very young, when I was like in the mirror, putting on my Salvation Army clothes, making outfits, imagining that I was anywhere but where I was, which it was in the backwoods of Maine, with an outhouse. And we won't get into all that. We'll do that'll be a separate podcast. But really, what I remember kind of letting go at some point in my childhood of what my hopes and dreams were, because that's not what the people around me saw for me. And I almost had a little bit of like shame around loving fashion and beauty and am I superficial and, all of that. And I really did not figure out what I was really truly meant to do or really claim it or step into it until I was 40. And I'll never forget, I never really totally understood what personal branding was at that time. I thought it was your branded materials. I mean, that's what a lot of people think, right? Your website, your social media, all the things. And I had been working in a boutique and serving, professional women and retired women and really helping dress them to feel confident and feel great. And it was interesting because we were attached to a med spa that was, part of the business. And this spa, one of the girls that worked at the spa who does facials came over one day and she said, Jessica, I know that the owner's name is on the door, and I won't say who the owner is, but I feel like every time people lie down in my bed and I'm like giving them a facial, they just use your name all the time. And they all talk about like how you made them feel in the clothes. And they're like, Jessica this and Jessica that. Is it Jessica approved? And she goes, I think there's something to that, like some kind of brand. And so I thought really hard about it. And I was on my way to work one day and I was listening to Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins said, and I swear he was speaking to me, he said, if you have a gift to share with the world and you do, like you're good and you're impacting and like how deep it really goes, if you choose out of fear not to fully lean in there, it's completely selfish. Because what you're doing is you're preventing other people from experiencing that gift and it impacting their lives.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't think of it that way. And I remember when it was a moment. I believe transformations can happen in moments. And that was a moment I will never forget that. And I walked in this boutique that morning and I looked around me and it was tons of square footage. There were clothes everywhere. It was a huge boutique. It felt small. It looked small and it never felt the same. And so I took 10 months of being fully curious. I went internally and I wasn't much of a meditator. Maybe I was meditating, I don't know. But I would take the time every day on my way to work to think about what I could do with the gift, and not thinking at all about I didn't think that things weren't going to go wrong. I only thought about what was going to go right. And I envisioned it and I closed my eyes and I envisioned a space. And I know I've shared this with you before about what that space looked like in the clothes. And it was for one woman and I was serving her one at a time and really helping her to really see herself and be seen and feel confident and feel great. And I would get these downloads in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. I'd sit straight up in bed and I would take my phone and I would talk into my phone. And 10 months later, I read my stream of consciousness, and that's how I formulated my business around that. That was, and it didn't, I didn't have a formula. And I learned that, and I did tell this story today, and I'm gonna say it out loud. When you're doing what you're meant to do, it all aligns, it all follows. And I know it sounds like I'm not talking about personal brand, but I am. It's about how people feel about you. It's about your frequency. It's about when you fully step in, it attracts them.
Yeah.
And so what my experience was, the day I left where I was, I had it planned out. Like 2 weeks, I'm giving my notice. 2 weeks later, I had my book of business, right? But that 2 weeks, I thought I was still going to be at the boutique, but she let me go early. And I had to let a customer know that was coming in from North Carolina to see me that I was not going to be there. She was going to have to work with someone else. And she said, well, would you take me shopping somewhere else? Wow. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. I took her to a boutique, and we walked in the boutique. I introduced myself to the owner. She goes, oh, you're the Jessica? And I was like, what? Like me? What are you talking about? Me? She said, I've heard about you in this town. Like, you have some of the same clients that come in here, and I just hear so many beautiful, wonderful things about you. This store, whatever you need, the girls here are at your service. And after you serve your clients, I need you to come in the back. I want to share something with you. I said, okay. Work with them for 4 hours. The clients made a purchase bigger than they ever had before. We had so much fun, and I was in a different space. I wasn't in my normal space. And I finished up, walked in her back office, and the owner handed me a check. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, not expecting this, right? I go for coffee with the 2 clients. It was a husband and wife. He would always come with her. They handed me cash, and I said, no, I'm just honoring what I said I was going to do. And they said, no, we would be so offended if you didn't take it. I get in my car. I open the envelope, and I pull out the wad of cash. And in total, it was $1,500 that I made in 4 hours. I cleared that in 2 weeks at the boutique of working 10, 12-hour days. And like literally when I left there, I pulled my blood, sweat, and tears off the floor. So I'm telling you, I didn't expect to tell that long story, but I'm telling that story to say when it's in alignment, when you take that step, when you fully lean in to where you know in your heart of hearts, you're knowing, not what anybody else says, trusting it and leaning in and allowing it to unfold, and you're gonna get your ass kicked. So be prepared. You're gonna get your ass kicked along the way, but the joy that you will also experience will blow your mind, and the joy you will bring other people by sharing the gifts that you have. It's just, it is the most, I just wish everyone could know and feel what it feels like to lean into it. And now when I get my ass kicked, I always know that with every breakdown, there's a huge breakthrough about to happen. So I get really excited on the days I get my ass kicked.
There's so many things from what you both shared there. And the piece that I'd love to lean in with both of you on is being willing and being available to be visible on a bigger scale. And even with the Tony Robbins quote that you shared, right? About if you have a gift and you're not willing to show up and fully share it with the world, that you're being selfish. And I think about that even with people I follow who have inspired me. And what really inspires me, like the people, when I think about brands that I follow, it's generally women who are unapologetically going for what they want. Usually there's a lot of luxury involved, and I'm into that, but they own it, right? And they're often moms, not always, but often moms. They claim their greatness. They don't downplay. They don't play small. And I think for each of us who, for anyone watching this, there's a reason they're watching us. For each of us who are here, I feel, and even in my own life, I felt this calling to really be this channel for this work to flow through, right? But if we get caught up in ego and what are they going to think of me and what are people going to say, and I don't want to shine too bright, will cap the level to which we're willing to show up. So I'd love for maybe Michelle, sorry, if you want to speak to that a little bit. And you even shared at dinner last night about being able to claim how good you are at your work, but that wasn't always natural. How did you step into a place where you can claim, I am really effing good at this and I know it and I can say it unapologetically? How did you make that shift?
Again, I really spent so much more time in my heart, and I started really allowing what I call letting land what other people were saying to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten for years emails and clients would say, "Oh my gosh, you've changed my life," da 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 da, and it's so lovely. I don't mean to make it sound like whatever. I would say, "Wow, really me? Like really?"
Yeah.
And it never struck my ego. I was never like, "Oh, I'm so great," but I really allowed it to settle into my heart, the reflections that people were giving me. And I took it to heart, quote unquote, took it to heart. And I thought, maybe I am as good as people say. And is that okay for me then to own that? It's really owning our greatness. And gosh, I've preached this to others for years. And I think also having a coaching certification program and even working with people that are not coaches, I look right at people, I go, do you not see your greatness? Like, claim this, own this. So I was saying it to everybody else. And I realized I had to do it even more for my own self. So how you do it is allow compliments to land. When someone says or reflects to you, hey, you look great today. Hey, what a beautiful piece of art. Hey, what a great accomplishment. Don't brush it off and say, oh, that was nothing. It's no big deal. No, 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 no. Say thank you. And that something I've realized over the years of doing this work is it's uncomfortable for so many of us. We'll say, oh, this I got it at Target. It's no big deal. Like, no, it is a big deal. That's part of who you are. When we get what I call soul aligned, that is when, man, we get the downloads and the streams of consciousness. It just comes down through us. And it opens it up into a much bigger level when you're in your heart space, and you're allowing that to land and feel it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it's just a natural thing. It's like, that is my superpower. One of them. I think every human has superpowers. Everybody, or gifts, the same thing. And it's time we start learning how to claim it and stop limiting ourselves. I've talked with so many women that have said to me over the years, even men, but mostly women, that'll say, oh, I can't do that. Let's just take coaching, for example. There are other people doing that, a coach. There are other better coaches in the world. And I always say the same thing, like, but there's nobody like you.
Yeah.
You have a unique, energetic signature that only you have. Yes. Only you have. And even if I teach you everything I know, I don't want you to be me. I want you to be you. Yeah. And there's only one of you. And it's about owning that, claiming that, and getting out there in the world. So whatever it is that you're here to do, pay attention to how it makes you feel. Yes. And claim that. Say, yes, that is me. And it feels like a pair of pants that's too tight in the beginning, or shoes that are too tight. Like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But eventually, and a lot of people say, isn't that narcissistic? No, not at all. It's self-loving. Yeah. To claim really who you are. And why not? Right?
I don't know if either of you have read Life Visioning by Michael Beckwith. Have you read it?
No.
So he talks about, and it's been a while since I read it, so this will be a rough paraphrase, but these 4 different levels of awareness or consciousness. And I know in my own journey, I think part of what has helped with being willing to be more visible is seeing, for me, it's spiritual. It's very spiritual. And I can claim that I am good at certain things. But the language I'm going to use is God. And so someone could insert their own language. It's God working through me. And from that place, my job is to move out of the way and allow that to flow through. Right. And so to me, that level of awareness has helped with being willing to be more visible and be more bold. I'm curious, Jessica, and gosh, we could talk about this forever. We'll probably end with 1 or 2 more questions here. But for you, as you think about, whoever's listening, wanting to be more empowered to step up into greater visibility and gaining confidence to do that as they build their brand, what would you say to someone who knows they want to build a brand, knows they want to be seen, but maybe is wondering again, like, who am I to do this? Or can I really claim and own my greatness?
The claiming, I would say for myself with growing up, I didn't feel that I could claim my greatness. I didn't feel worthy of claiming my greatness because I thought that wasn't what everybody wanted of me. And I thought that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. So it became like a shameful thing to claim my gift. And but once I did or began to, and I think it's a process. It's not like an overnight, like, like I've claimed it, it's there. You know what I mean? It's not like that. And that's why I think so much that it's all about continuously taking action, because as you continuously go through the action, it deepens it. You begin to feel it more by showing up and like being that. At which you want to feel. But I will say initially starting my company, I so badly needed and desired to have the clients love me. And I needed them to say they had this transformation. It was so wonderful. And there were so many of them. I have amazing stories over the course of many years, but it was never enough for me. And I would focus in if someone didn't feel like they had a good experience. And I thought, well, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good. I'm not good at what I do. I have, I think, 78 Google reviews or something. But I think about that one person,
Yeah.
And then what I had to do to get past that was actually inner child work. I had to go back.
Interesting.
And I had to parent her. I had to tell her that when she looked in the mirror and she looked in her eyes and she imagined what her life was, and it was so fun and she felt beautiful and it was amazing, that it wasn't superficial, that's where the power was. And that gift that I have of styling and fashion and making women feel beautiful is only the vehicle for what God gave me. And once I got it, again, transformations happen in moments. This literally happened to me a month and a half ago that I had this realization. And I've been living powerfully in my business for a long time. But what I've noticed, the shift of what's happened, is it's deepened the work that I can do with my clients. And I can take them deeper because I know the feeling. There's so many women that I see that it's like they want success, but they also don't want to be seen. They want to blend in. They don't want to walk in a room in a dress that highlights all their best features. And maybe that dress is hot pink, and they work in a corporate setting where everyone else is wearing navy blue and black, and they see her and she feels. So what I hear a lot of my clients say is that happened and I felt a little uncomfortable. Or when you told me to wear that outfit, I didn't want to wear it, but I did it because I know that you would have been upset with me, or I would have had to answer to you. And then I'll ask again, I'll uncover that a bit more. Okay, so you felt uncomfortable, then what happened? And they'll say, well, I felt like all eyes were on me. And then I realized it was because I looked great, but then I still felt uncomfortable. And then during the break, I'm now actually speaking about a specific person. During the break, people were coming up to me. They wanted to have lunch with me. They were asking me about my business and how I did certain things. And then I realized they were all looking at me. And by the end of it, I realized that I needed to be seen because I was sharing with other people, and they wanted to connect with me even after the event. And so it's interesting because sometimes when we're seen, we think we're not going to be received well, or someone's going to judge us. But when you're in that true power of it and you're actually being seen in your true authentic self, that's when you attract the most incredible, amazing women. I never, ever in my life, when I started this company and I envisioned everything, I never could have imagined this right now. I'm a fashion stylist. I'm in a space with women that manifest wealth, that manifest joy and the best versions of themselves, that talk about the inner child and reparent that child. And I'm like in a room talking about fashion with these powerhouse women because that's who I've attracted into my life.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Amen. 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 And that, I think that is the power of being willing to be seen, willing to be visible, willing to build a brand, is that your light reflects to others what's possible, right? So when we claim that and own that and do it from our authentic place and are willing to follow our intuition and our heart with that, that's when the real magic happens. So lightning round, like 30 seconds each, final words of advice for someone who is looking to build a brand that impacts the world right now. And maybe their world is their company, right? Their clients. Maybe it's the whole world. But Michelle, final words of advice that you would give someone.
Why not you? Why not?
Yeah.
You know, like write down on a piece of paper why all the reasons you think it shouldn't be you that goes out into the world and really makes a big statement in the world. Why not you? Make a list of those statements, and I believe you'll realize it's not, they don't line up with your authentic self.
Yeah. Wow.
They're just limitations, and again, this is a whole other story, but they're old and outdated limiting beliefs that you really don't need anymore. So do that work to that, so then you can stand up and out into the world and say yes to myself instead of say why not me?
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Jessica? All right, so I'm going to piggyback off of that. Once you say to yourself, why not me? I want you to take a moment and think about who, not how to get there, but the who, and surround yourself with the best. Invest in yourself with the best of the best in every area so that they can help you to amplify the work that you're already doing. I think about the women that, that are reaching out to me now, and they have established brands and they are doing well, but what's next level?
Yeah.
And, when I say, there's a book, Who Not How, I can't remember who wrote the book.
Was it Dan's? I don't know.
Yes, Dan Sullivan. Yes. We're not meant to do this alone. I remember feeling that way because of how I grew up, and I had this resilience, and you need to invest in yourself and invest in the right people to take you next level.
Yeah.
And it's not just one thing. It's inside out, it's outside in. Think about every aspect of how you can better yourself, right? And just start. And you're probably going to, along the way, hire some of the wrong people or do some of the wrong things. But along the way, trust in yourself when it doesn't feel right and you get that in your gut and say, you know what, that's not right. I'm going to look over here. And you'll find it and find your way. But you have to trust and let go, invest, and allow the people that are the experts, that are there to carry you, that have a gift of doing that, to do that for you and with you.
Wow. That's so beautiful. This is so powerful. Thank you both. I love and adore both of you. I'm so grateful for this conversation.
I love you so much. I'm just so grateful that you brought us all together.
I love you too. So glad. Thank you to you, a listener, for being with us in this conversation. And I think this was a different angle on personal branding that I knew we would have, that I love what we got to do. So again, we'll link Jessica and Michelle's information in the show notes so you can connect with them. Please do. And to go deeper with me and my team, if you want to connect further, please reach out. You can book a complimentary call at elisearcher.com/free call to explore how to quantum leap your sales, your business, and your life. Be sure you're subscribed to the podcast and to YouTube so that you get amazing episodes like this every week. And I just want to remind you to remember to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights, leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future.